Hey everybody, and welcome to Epic Everyday, our weekday podcast for busy, stressed out Christians who don't want to just survive or get through the day or
any other minimum successful factor.
Yes, and instead want to have zest for their lives, to thrive. I'm Liz Ferricks, and this is my husband Evan.
Hello there.
We're so glad you guys are here with us today on
Wednesday. We're going to continue our discussion about simplicity. We've been talking about it all week. It is the last Dr. May principle of the consecrated life here. So it's been a good run here. And today we're going to also pair that with being centered.
Because it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
And on Wednesdays, we talk about being centered.
Sometimes I feel like as Christians we can get into this trap of over complexity, which is trying to fill every minute of the day with something and try to be productive all the time, try to always be accomplishing something right now all the time.
Yeah.
And we feel like we're not being a good Christian, or we're not being productive, or God's not going to like us as much if we don't do that. And that is definitely stealing calm and peace and getting us messed up in all kinds of ways.
Seriously, that hamster wheel, I feel like, is one of the biggest stressors that we have in our everyday lives.
Yeah, and we're basing our value then on all this stuff we're doing. I don't think God's looking at us like that. He's not sizing us up being like, you look like you could do a lot of work for me. Like you could really be so helpful. And I'm just going to run you into the ground with tasks now because that's what I need somehow.
Right.
And
His power is enough to raise Jesus from the dead. Pretty sure it can handle whatever.
Yeah. I think this hyperactivity is one of our biggest and most potent cultural drugs, in America. It's like, we have all this technology to save us time so that we can spend our free time now doing other things that are so productive and saving us time. And it's just like, you'd think we'd have more leisure time than ever. And maybe it's not all productive, but it's all very busy. Even in our downtime, we're busy. Whereas I think in other cultures and maybe even other times,
there was more just sit around and stare at the wall time.
Well, or you could stare at the cows, or I don't know.
You could stare at any number of things.
You could hang out with people and not have. I think it's a mental state, right? I think it's like these devices and burning the midnight oil and having all the power and luxury that electricity affords us. It just is so mentally stimulating that it's just, I don't know, it's not very simple. Right. It's in our mind anyway, and it's exhausting.
Yeah. There was a pretty great picture on one of my Facebook groups that somebody posted where this person was walking their dog as a cartoon, and so there's like a thought bubble over both of them.
Yeah.
And the dog's thought bubble is the trees. Like, it's an exact picture of what they're walking through.
Right. It's the dog. Yeah, I've seen that too. The dog with their owner.
Right. And then the person's thought bubble is like 80 million things, and it was, the caption is mindfulness or mindfulness. Whether your mind is full or whether you're being mindful.
It's probably similar, but I thought the caption was something like, why dogs are happier than people.
Oh, well, that could be too, but the one in my group was whether your mind is full or whether you're being mindful of what's going on around you.
That's a good distinction. Mm-hmm. We have so many distractions.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I get frustrated about this a lot. Just the necessity of all the stuff, we need a car that's working. We need a phone that works. We need a computer that works. And, those things wear out. And then it's like, oh, now I got to find another one, and it's just, or you can pay, to have the newest phone and the newest computer and the newest car, but then it's so expensive that would wear me out. In my mind, we've never really tried that. But, it's just one way to drain my mind or another. I don't think, I know Jesus isn't the one putting that hectic craziness on us. He's not the one saying, you know what you ought to do?
Right.
You ought to get 12 iPhones. And then you can really worship me and really be productive. Like, we are putting all that stuff on ourselves. And part of it's our, we living in America. It's hard to imagine life any other way.
Right. Western society in general is pretty go, go, go. But yeah, I think a lot of the time we're running from something. At least I know for me, when I'm like, okay, I gotta do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. It's because I'm feeling afraid. Like I'm feeling really stressed about my to-do list, or, I'm feeling stressed about something else that I'm trying to ignore, or I'm back stuck in the performance trap where I'm like, I gotta prove how awesome I am, otherwise I'm not gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so there's some negative consequences there with not getting the stuff done.
Right. And I think, when we sit still, it feels a little terrifying and uncomfortable. One of the ways I used to think about it was trying to outrun an ocean wave, because it looks like it's going to drown you and you're just trying to get away. And you can never really get away from it, but you can at least stay out in front of it. But then, when we sit down and we let that ocean wave just crash over us, it's only there for a little bit. And then the level goes down. And then we can actually see what's around us and see what's behind that ocean wave. Mm-hmm. Is it a scarcity driven, I don't have enough time? Is it a worth driven, I'm not enough blank? And you got to fill that in by proving how awesome you are. Is it a misplaced understanding of spirituality?
Yeah.
But we can't even attempt to solve the problem unless we first let it pass over us and then start diagnosing what's actually there.
Yeah. Well, because, we're spending all of our money, all of our energy running, right?
Right.
And you can't do that self-examination. And it takes work to stop and sit and let the wave come. Like we're still using the energy and we're making a conscious decision to stop. And that is so difficult for all those reasons you just mentioned. But what we're doing when we're being so frantic, evidently we're doing some stuff that's not as important as we think it is.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, God wouldn't be like, no, slow down, sit down for a minute, take a breath.
Right.
And, going back to responsibility, which we talked about a few weeks ago, maybe we're doing all this other stuff that other people ought to be doing. And we're cutting them off at the pass somehow. So there's a few problems with that. It's just, but sometimes realizing what the problems are, it still isn't enough to make us sit down and shut up for a little bit. It's really difficult.
Well, and I think if we're stuck in that frantic mode, another thing that I like to ask myself, kind of going back to what we talked about yesterday, is this going to matter 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Like when I'm freaking out over, are the dishes done today or not? Then I go, oh, well, they're going to get done sometime this week. Like there's no scenario where we, for the next 5 years, don't do our dishes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's more stressful to have a huge pile of dishes than it is if I just do them a little at a time. But at the same time, is it really going to matter in the eternal scheme of things? No. So is it worth expending all that stress and energy to freak out over it? No.
Yeah, we're really shooting ourselves in the foot there. We want to just keep in mind that we can spend our energy being frantic and having an overly complicated, overly hectic life, or we can spend the same amount of energy doing some of that introspection and self-examination stuff in prayer. Like we can seek to do our work. There's scriptures about that. God's like, do your work quietly and function in society. We can use our gifts, but we've got to find out what those are. We can use our talents and pursue our passion and our interests, not in a selfish way, but in a way of like, God made me a certain way. I really should use my energy being who I am, not trying to manage everything around me. And that'll help us slow down a little bit too. And we have to slow down to kind of sort some of that stuff out for a little while. And it's going to feel like, it's going to feel bad because we're not being productive every single second of the day, because we're kind of sitting and praying and thinking and journaling and a lot of things we talk about on here all the time.
Yep.
And that's a good place to be.
All right. Well, hopefully that gives us all something to think about. I know I need to work on simplifying a little bit and just being like, all right, be now, Have a mind that's mindful, not a mind that's full.
A mind like a dog.
Oh my
Liz
goodness.
is not a dog person. What's a cat mind?
0%.
I wonder. There's just a fish there, I think.
And, pick whether your glass is half full or half empty today. Once you choose, it makes things, depending on what you choose. Yes, you have a choice.
Yeah.
You can decide whether your day is going to be epic and amazing. The only difference between an epic adventure and a terrifying adventure is your perspective.
Yeah. And today is the day that the Lord has made. So we can walk in that.
We love you guys, and we are praying for you. Thanks to everybody that's been sharing the show and listening to the show. We really appreciate it. If you have found this podcast helpful, please do continue to share it with your friends and relations and strangers you grab on the street. And if you haven't joined our email list, go ahead and do that, because we've got some stuff planned for that. It's going to be awesome. Come back tomorrow, and we will talk about connection and how to be simple with our connections.
Sounds good. See you then.